Here's the deal. Normal is not optimal. Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Holmes on Health. I'm Dr. Alan Holmes. This podcast has been a long time in the making, at least in my mind. Finding the time and the space to make it happen has taken a bit longer than I wanted, but that's okay because here we are and here we go. Let me start by sharing a bit about myself, who I am, how I got here. I'm 48 years old, happily married for 23 years, and have 3 great kids that are 17, 14, and 11. I'm an emergency physician for the last 20 years. The longer I worked in the ER, the more difficult the job got, especially with the state of healthcare system today. About 9 years ago, the long shifts, the night shifts, the bad eating started to catch up with me. My capacity to do the job, both mentally and physically, was declining. I was less of a doctor at work, I was less of a husband at home, and less of a father too. So I decided to clean up my diet. I tried to hit the gym more. I tried to improve my sleep, which honestly is quite impossible for a shift worker. But I continued to lose traction. I thought maybe there was something else going on, so I had some lab work done. My testosterone level was pretty low. Not low by modern medicine standards or insurance standards. They would have told me I was absolutely fine. But based on my symptoms, I was definitely low. We'll get into that more on another episode. I started on testosterone replacement therapy. It was a game changer. Not overnight and not all by itself, but coupled with a new approach to nutrition and a new approach to exercise, the tide began to turn for me. Fast forward 5 years. The ER was getting no better. Then COVID hit, which only further broke an already broken system. The other thing that I was thinking about during this time was what my job had become. I wasn't really happy with it anymore. It wasn't even what I signed up for. I felt like I was putting emergency band-aids on problems that were largely preventable had someone gotten to the person a decade before and tried a more preventative or optimal approach. So I began to look for a way out. And by God's grace, I was given the opportunity to purchase a wellness clinic that was specializing in hormone optimization and medical weight loss. I took the next year or so and I became certified in advanced hormone replacement therapy through WorldLink Medical, and I got board certified in obesity medicine through the American Board of Obesity Medicine. That education, coupled with the last 3 years of treating patients in this space, have completely revolutionized my approach and my thoughts on medicine. The purpose of this podcast is to share those ideas, those truths that I've learned, which I hope, maybe just in a small way, will help you on your own journey to health and wellness. So let me share with you a little bit about my new philosophy on medicine and wellness. In my medical practice, we use the term a lot, life optimized. So the first question may be, what does that even mean? And a follow-up question may be, well, how would one go about achieving that? Those 2 questions are the nidus of the podcast. It's what I want to explore in each episode. I think about these 2 questions a lot. And every day in the clinic, I have these conversations with patients just like you. For me, here's what living life optimized means. It means pursuing a state of physical, mental, metabolic, and spiritual health that allows us to be the strongest, most energetic, most productive, most engaging version of ourselves we can be. To live every day like it's our last day, and the last day being as full of vigor and vitality as possible. So how would one go about achieving this, a life optimized? I'm always thinking about how the best way to frame this pursuit. And recently I came across a Bible verse, Ecclesiastes 4:12. It said a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So I started thinking about what 3 folds would make up a strong health, a health that's not compromised or easily broken. If I had to choose 3, and I did, I chose nutrition, physical fitness, and hormone optimization. You may choose 3 different ones. Maybe you would choose sleep, or mental health, or supplements. All very important, but since it's my podcast, I get to choose the content, and I chose nutrition, physical fitness, and hormone optimization. But I promise we'll get into all those other topics as well. Today, what I want to do is briefly outline for you what I mean by those 3 topics. And then in future episodes, we're going to dive deep on each one of them. We're going to do this through evidence-based medicine. We're going to discuss articles that go over strategies in nutrition, on nutrition and exercise. And we're going to discuss the topics with guest appearances as well. My hope is that the content here and the discussions that we have are going to be educational. They're going to be engaging, inspiring, and even motivating. My intent is to come alongside you, the listener, in your pursuit of living life optimized. So let's get started. Nutrition. Nutrition, by definition, is the science of how food affects the body's growth, repair, and overall function. It involves the intake and utilization of nutrients, such as carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, all of these things that are needed to maintain health and support life. Good nutrition fuels energy. It supports the immune system, it regulates metabolism, and it aids in disease prevention. Another important thing to think about is that nutrition isn't the same for everyone. Lots of things need to be taken into consideration, and the proper nutrition should be tailored to the individual. We need to take into consideration their age, their activity level, and their personal health goals. It isn't just about what you eat. It's about the quality of food that you eat. It's about the balance of the macros. It's about the timing of the eating. It encompasses digestion, absorption, and even physiological impact of the nutrients on the body. To put it lightly, it's complicated. It's nuanced. And anyone that claims that there is a one-size-fits-all plan for nutrition, or claims that they themselves know the best nutrition plan out there, well, they're either lying to you or they're naive. Let's move on to the second fold. Physical fitness. It reflects the body's ability to perform daily tasks with vigor and without undue fatigue. It encompasses a host of different components. Among these, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, body composition. What I mean by that would be the ratio of fat and lean mass. Then we should also consider balance, coordination, and agility. The other thing important to point out here is that nutrition and physical fitness overlap, meaning you've got to fuel your body in order for it to perform well and in order for it to improve physically. One fold left, hormone optimization. So what do I mean by hormone optimization? Traditional medicine works on the premise that if the labs or hormone levels read normal or in range, then there can't be anything wrong. Here's the deal. Normal is not optimal, especially when it comes to hormones. For example, many people suffer from symptoms of hypothyroidism, fatigue, weight gain, cold intolerance. Maybe they go to their doctor and share all these symptoms with their doctor. They test their hormone levels for their thyroid, and they're told they're all normal, and there's no reason to treat them. But we know that the medical literature is clear that normal numbers do not always reflect how a person actually feels. I'll give you a second example. When a woman goes into menopause, it is normal for their hormone levels to tank. But with that comes lots of bad symptoms. Hot flashes, night sweats, a decrease in energy, a decrease in libido, a decrease in muscle mass, loss of bone density, and an increased risk of cardiovascular disease and dementia. So, they may say that it's normal, well, it's certainly not optimal, especially when we also know that the medical literature supports and shows that optimizing these hormone levels not only improves symptoms, but can also be preventative for things like cardiovascular disease, dementia, and osteoporosis. So my mantra is this: normal is not optimal, and we recommend optimal. So those are my three folds: nutrition, physical fitness, and hormone optimization. And it's what we're going to dive into each week on this podcast. So I hope you found this first episode engaging, or at least a little thought-provoking. And I hope that you're going to come back for future episodes and join me as we dive deep and discuss these three folds. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute the practice of medicine or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice, and no doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of information on this podcast or materials linked from this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content of this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice for any medical condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.